Good evening, everybody. This is Cinnamon Noir.
And this is the Ramen Shaman.
Welcome back to Rayman Legends. We're here for the second half of 20,000 Lums Under the Sea. Infiltration Station.
How does
Sorry,
that
what?
book end?
I don't remember. In fact, I may not have actually read the end of the book. I have an unfortunate habit of reading parts of books. And I think I probably did that. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is a little hard to read, I have to say.
Yeah.
For one thing, it's very long. I have read, for instance, Around the World in 80 Days. And I did finish that one because I was in Europe and I didn't have much else to do. I'm not much of a sightseer. I got the book basically to distract myself.
I remember.
And it's kind of a boring book. I won't say all of the book is boring, but quite a lot of it is of a style that we don't tend to find interesting anymore. It's mostly a travelogue, and funnily enough, there's very little science fiction in it. It's mostly just like, oh, they're in India now. Oh, now they're in parts of Africa.
Yeah.
And since Jules Verne actually didn't travel much himself, a lot of his stuff is a little bit lacking in detail.
Oh, yeah, true.
And also maybe just a skosh racist, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
In that, you know, like 1890s kind of way, you know? Like what Bioshock Infinite was trying for and didn't quite do. Anyway. So here we have Murphy to help again, but now he's doing something very curious. Instead of blocking off the light, he's actually moving it for us.
Interesting.
I can't help but notice that the lights look a little bit like Wheatley from Portal 2.
Oh, yeah. No kidding.
I actually just finished that game. That 8-year-old game. That's just the kind of gamer I am. Anyway, there's a guy just wandering up the wall. I'm sure he's not going to be any trouble to us. So I don't know where all these lights are coming from. Like, it looks like sparks coming up from there, and I don't know what that is.
Huh.
A little curious. I thought at first it was hazardous. Kind of looks like it should be. Like the bright lights from earlier, but it is not. Anyway, here we have another secret door. This level is interesting in that, like some other later levels in the game, it has doors that are mandatory in addition to the optional ones.
Odd.
So finding a door is not a guarantee that you found a secret room. In fact, you could just go right into it, you know, get ahead of yourself, and by accident, you know, cut yourself off from any secrets. In fact, it's even worse in a level in the 5th world. But I'm anticipating. Anyway, we've rescued the queen, and now it's time to move on. So here, oddly enough, is a swinging crate that Murphy does not want to cut down. A rarity in this game.
True enough.
But here's some ropes for him.
And then you pump your back.
I got a little too excited. I jumped off at the same time as I hit the thing. I have a tendency to push 2 buttons at once in this game. I think the reason is because with Murphy, you often have to push 2 buttons at once, and I sort of get into the swing of it and forget what I'm doing. With Murphy, the buttons you have to push at once are the jump button and Y for Murphy. I accidentally hit and jump at the same time, which you're not supposed to do in any circumstances. More teensy torture. They seem to really love that in this world. Just jumping up and down on top of teensies. It's a little grotesque, actually. Teensies seem to take an awful lot of punishment. There's another one of those splinter cell frogs. They're going to be multiplying, by the way. There's a lot of them in this level. So, this is kind of a curious one of these areas. Murphy will move the thing just laterally across the room. But you need to get around this labyrinth, which means you need to bear in mind when you're going to have to jump. Getting to that teensy and back is not the easiest thing in the world. And Murphy moves this faster than you would like, I think. He certainly moves it faster than I would like. So keeping up with it is not easy.
That seems irritating.
What makes that bottom level particularly hard is that those little things that give you lums in the bottom encourage you to hit them all, but doing that slows you down. You could run into them and hit them at the same time, but that would cause you to plunge right into the little electrical trap. So it's almost perfectly designed to make it difficult for you to get across while getting all the stuff you want to get. You could just give up on those lums, of course, but then what kind of platformer play would it be?
Of course, yeah.
None at all, really. So there's a TNC that's very easy to get. In fact, I'd almost say it'd be harder not to get it. And, hidden just out of the way, maybe to, psych you out from having gotten an easy thing, there is another hidden area that you might not have noticed. And a secret level that is really easy. If you can get over to the right side of the screen, you can just plummet down.
Oh,
and it
dear.
won't matter if you're in the red, because you won't be in it for very long.
Uh-huh.
Rayman falls very quickly. Like most things.
Ah.
This is kind of a funny thing. Murphy, instead of directly controlling this, will tilt the ramp, and that'll cause the thing to sort of bumble back and forth. Means you have to bear physics in mind, because it'll roll faster if it's tilted more sharply.
Uh-huh.
You also have to remember that if it's all the way on one side, that left-hand area is not safe. So you need to make sure you're moving very quickly here.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I think there must be something hidden up there, because, why would they put a bunch of blank empty space if they weren't going to hide something?
I mean, that would...
But no, actually... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, that would be kind of annoying level design.
It is, but I always think that that's what they're trying to do.
Oh.
No, really, they just hid something in the corner over there, so they psyched me out. So here, you've got to make sure to slide down that wall real slow.
Uh-huh.
And make sure you get in that door fairly quickly. You are not out of the woods when you get to the door, because Murphy will keep carrying it around,
Oh.
I find it interesting that Murphy is not able to stop himself. He just, keeps moving it, even when he knows he'd be putting you in danger, and he doesn't need to move it anymore.
Yeah, it is irritating that you can't just tell him to cut that out.
Yeah, Murphy is a little dumb. But you understand that from a gameplay perspective, they really couldn't find a way for him to do anything else.
Oh.
Oh. And I bounced right into that frog.
I guess.
He's annoying. He came right out of nowhere. Yeah, that is a tricky little maneuver you have to do right there. You have to jump, hit the guy, and have Murphy press the button all within a span of like a second. So that's actually pressing 3 buttons at once. Of course, it is the last thing you do in the level, so it's proportionate, I would say.
It's not unreasonable to put an extra challenge at the end of something like this.
Exactly. No, it's just textbook difficulty curve, really. You put a really hard thing right at the end of the level, so it feels triumphant. I say this like it's really obvious. I think it's pretty obvious. But it is a more old-fashioned way to design games, where a lot of the emotions from it comes out of, structure, rather than, dialogue or things like that.
Ah.
Not saying it works perfectly, or even that it's a good substitute for a story, but it does sort of take the place of a story. Anyway, the second bonus area is, of course, once again a dojo. I'm really struggling to think here where they were seeing a thematic connection. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
This is the water world. It is not Asia world. I would like to see an area in a Rayman game based on Asia, but they've never decided to do that.
True.
I have to wonder if they were slightly inspired by the success of, Kung Fu Panda in making this. Because I think this was right when Kung Fu Panda 2 was coming out. You never know. There is something a little bit DreamWorks-y about the Rayman series. And that's cartoonish, but also just ever so slightly mature. Oh.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Messed that one up. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Maybe, but...
I mean, like a dojo thing. It's not an uncommon idea for a game, but you don't see it everywhere. I mean, most of the games I've seen it in have been Japanese-themed. Stuff like Okami, for instance.
Well, I can see a dojo level in a game like this.
Mm-hmm. If it was just, one level in the overall structure.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a fun little world. Just keep bouncing up and hitting both of them at once.
Uh-huh.
I save a little time there to make up for having lost my time earlier. This one, you gotta make sure you got a running start before you get to the end. And that was a very close one. I actually should have gotten more of a running start, but I managed to pull it out anyway. And here we go. I'm able to just plunge down on that last one because you'll sort of teleport out of the room as soon as you're done. And that I was almost certain I was actually going to get hit, but... One thing I will say in favor of these dojo levels is that just like the weekly challenges, they do help you get really good at knowing where Rayman is going to be. Mm-hmm. So it's good training.
That's true.
Now that does make more sense for the weekly challenges and less sense for being a bonus level in the actual game, but...
Yeah.
It's interesting how few games have training modes. I guess it's because so few games have unique mechanics. So they figure, if you've played other games, you probably already know how to do this one fairly well.
I guess, but still, a tutorial helps.
Yeah, I understand the tutorial part, but training mode is a little different because it's more self-directed, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
It's not just you following instructions, it's you sort of exploring the mechanics. I guess also a lot of games feel you can just do that with the game.
Uh-huh.
But training modes allow you to be a little more flexible. I don't know, I've always liked them in games. So, elevator ambush. Levels with elevator in the name are almost never a good sign.
True.
It means that they're going to proceed at a standardized pace, and they're probably going to be full of enemies. Oh. And I slip up right off the bat here.
Ouch.
And then just push forward. I think I was a little bit annoyed. What you should do is just right off the bat hit that thing, because then you'll save lots of time.
Uh-huh.
That thing is surprisingly slow to go all the way around the circle. Here's a curious one. Gotta move really fast. But you can make it. Now that was annoying. I didn't even see the guy's little electric bolt, because I think it was blocked out by the Rayman thing in the top of the screen.
Ah.
Just temporarily. Nothing they could have expected, but... And then I just decide to, jump all the way down to the bottom. A little silly, but...
But what do you do?
In retrospect, nothing. I can't solve my past self's problems.
No, you cannot.
All I can do is make fun of him.
For posterity.
Anyway, so... Oh, yeah. Here we have the first elevator. So remember when I said we were going to see a lot more of those Splinter Cell frogs? Here is where they really come out in force, and we have the paratroops. Yeah, they are freaking everywhere. They will climb up from the bottom of the screen, they'll jump down from the top of the screen.
Oh, jeez.
Ambush is a good name for what's happening.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the ones that come in with the sort of parasail are the least dangerous. You can afford to ignore them for a little while.
Uh-huh.
They don't seem to get their guns out until later, whereas the ones who just jump right down have their guns out right off the bat. A big part of this level, I would say, is prioritizing which enemies to attack first. Because there's so many of them that you've got to know which ones are going to be the most aggressive. So we got past the first gauntlet. There'll be more to come. The way this level works is it kind of alternates between the elevator sections and then a sort of slower section to cool down. Here we have a new type of enemy, a very strange guy who will throw, damaged electronics at you.
Oh, I thought he was actually throwing enemies at you for a second there.
I don't think they're enemies. They're like pieces of junk. What's funny is every fifth one, he'll throw a rubber ducky at you. And it's harmless. Yeah, a little bit of humor there. But also, sort of a respite, in case he's really...
you could... I guess if you were having trouble with that guy, you could wait for him to chuck a rubber ducky.
I think that's exactly what they expect you to do. Here we have another one. I think these guys may also throw out cages at some point, which you might have to actually, get. But I'm not 100% sure. That would be, much more punishing than this game normally is with the secrets.
Yeah.
Speaking of which. So maybe he's not doing that. Maybe they just look like cages. Anyway, here's an interesting stage. You may recall from the last episode that we used these guys to block off the lights. Here we're going to have to swim with them. Not the easiest thing in the world because, here, you can't completely tell where the light is. I thought at first that he wasn't blocking it off because it was on the left-hand side. But it turns out that it was just that he wasn't up near where the light was yet. So it tricked me. So that's my excuse for the first death. I'm not going to have an excuse for the second one.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this one takes me several tries. It took me a little bit just to figure out what actually this guy was doing. You can see how the shadow moves in kind of an odd way. Now we need to get around to his other side. And instead I bump right into his butt.
Oh god.
Yeah, I got hasty. The thing about swimming in this game is, I think I said that it's mostly pretty good. But at the same time, you move faster than you would expect to.
Uh-huh.
Since, you're weightless, it's faster than moving around outside of the water. And so you can just rush ahead and sort of, plunge into obstacles.
Oh,
without
yeah.
entirely knowing what you're doing.
Oop.
There we go. And we get it.
Yay!
Yeah, it's about time. So this is the queen. We're gonna have another elevator before we get to the king.
Oop.
But for now... I like the little pipes that are just spewing water in the background.
Uh-huh.
Seems like a lot of stuff in this area is not working right. It may be that parts of this area are not supposed to be full of water, and they only are because this place
That
is
could
just
be
wrecked.
really grim if it only gave you one chance to help that thing.
Yeah, right. There's no way they do that. Again, Teensy's just showing their unnatural resilience. It's like they're immortal, but they also need to be rescued. Very curious. I don't know, Michelangelo seems to have liked beating up on those Teensies.
Yeah.
I don't know what it says about him. Or maybe I'm reading it wrong and it says something about me. Who knows?
Possibly both.
But, either way, make sure you get through these pistons quickly. They're annoying. And then we have 3 of these gunmen with their electric guns. Be very careful here. I narrowly dodged that one. I thought it was going to hit me.
Yeah. I was gonna say, be careful.
You may wonder why I went back to him. The reason is because every enemy you beat in this area gets you lungs. Which, minor concern, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I like to be neat.
Oop.
By the way, the fact that that thing goes through that area can be kind of a clue to you that it's a secret area.
Ooh, yeah.
'Cause it's not hitting a wall, it's going straight through. Here's a classic side-level kind of concept. You're on a platform, and the platform is sort of your guide.
Uh-huh.
Gotta stick with it. If you ever get behind it, you're done for.
Oh dear.
Ooh. That was a little close. I was going to extremes. Okay, so I was wrong. You actually get to the king before the next elevator area. There might only be 2 in this level. In which case, it hardly deserves its name, but...
Yeah.
Then again, it does say elevator ambush, not elevators ambush.
True.
Anyway. So now the wizard gives us the shooting fist upgrade, which is very helpful, because now we can get rid of these guys much faster. I like that upgrade. It's interesting. It really changes the nature of this game. It would help if I didn't run straight into the hazards. Yeah, and that guy hits me. You may have noticed we are just getting absolutely swamped here with various hazards. Not just the frogs, but also lights. You may also have noticed that there's tons of things that look like buildings appearing in the background. Like this is Rapture or something. Anyway, so yeah, there's 2 on the sides you gotta watch out for, and then 1 right in the middle. Which I do not watch out for, and I have no excuses.
Oop.
I'm not sure if you can get rid of the electric bolts by shooting them. You could do that with other projectiles, but it wouldn't make much sense for it to work with electricity. So I'm not sure if it does. I just run right into that one. I think maybe I hadn't noticed it. And this guy has to stick around a little longer. Okay, so I just saw there, yes, you can neutralize the electricity by hitting it. But you have to hit it right on. And just as we've seen 3 times before, we have another chase scene here. More nose squishing. I don't know if that's some kind of unique teensy torture or something, but... They really seem to like it. Didn't do too well against that guy, especially when he gave me 2 rubber ducks to deal with, but...
Achievement unlocked, shoot 'em up. That's probably for, like, shooting a certain number.
Almost certainly. But again, more achievements where I really have no idea what they are or why I got them.
Also more
That was a bit of a
Cuphead
bad move.
stuff.
Yeah, kind of. I wouldn't necessarily call this Cuphead-like. I mean, there's lots of games that feature this kind of thing.
Nah, Cuphead enemies take way more shots to kill.
Yeah, that's the other thing about it. Is this isn't a tenth as hard as Cuphead.
Oh, God.
So this guy does something interesting. He's alternating between long and short shots, in addition to alternating between the electric stuff and the duckies.
Interesting.
However, he's easier to deal with because you have more space to maneuver in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So really, you should not get hit by that guy. Here we go. Finally, a proper chase sequence. And yeah, this is pretty much Rapture at this point. Rapture or Meridia from Super Metroid, not sure which.
It would be great if they actually, like, deliberately leaned into that.
That would be kind of cool, yeah.
Like,
Maybe a little too much to expect.
It would be funny, though, if the, what is it, the Teensy Wizards were more thematic.
Yeah, it would. That would be a great idea, and I don't know why they didn't do it. It seems like with all the other thematic stylings they did, that it wouldn't be too difficult.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, the villains in this game seem to be the things they worked the least on. And I don't know why.
Which is a bit of a shame.
It is. It's probably the biggest shame in the whole thing. The one really clever thing they did with the villains was the alien planet where, you know, they get assaulted with pitchforks.
Yeah.
But, what the heck, you can't have everything. And he cusses us out. You know, fourth time it's happened. We should be used to it by now.
Yep.
But we saved the teensy princess, if that's who she is.
And
or I guess she's just more like the teensy damsel. Yeah.
Got all of the teensies and whatnot.
Not bad. Yeah, and this level is absolutely overloaded with lums, so it should not be too hard to get a gold trophy on it.
Mm-hmm.
The bonus areas have more lums than you might think, so when you miss the teensies, you often will also miss the lum trophy. Just something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, and good advice for life. There's always a bigger fish. So never stop fishing. Just keep using the last one you caught as bait. No, obviously this is not advice about fishing. It's advice about running away from fish.
Ah.
Yeah. So this guy summons his minion. In the past we've seen frogs and dragons as minions, but this guy is a sea serpent. A little bit obvious in retrospect. A lot of the enemies in this game are some variety of dragons, which is kind of curious. Now, the boss from the water world in Rayman Origins was also a sea serpent, interestingly enough. So this is another area where it kind of is like Origins again. And I run right into that one. But fortunately, right after a checkpoint. These chase sequences are very intense and probably the most difficult parts of the game. But fortunately, they do have a lot of checkpoints in them. I also just love the music in this one. There's something very classical about it. But it suits the whole running away motif quite well.
What does this remind me of?
I don't know. We'll have to workshop that one. Are you talking about the level or the music specifically?
The music.
It's hard to say. The bass track also reminds me of something that I can't quite put my finger on, but I don't know what it is. Well, here's just the adventure theme, of course. And some more very rhythm game-based sections where the idea is to just jump at the right times, punch at the right times. It is funny how even the levels in this game that are not rhythm games can have parts which are very much that style. Which I love that kind of thing, so it never bothered me. But here is probably the hardest part of the whole chase section to not get hit in.
Oh dear,
Gotta be very careful here. Which I'm
Holy
not.
shit.
I know, quite a gauntlet. It'd be nice to have a heart in it, but they don't really give you that luxury. One thing is, again, sort of like rhythm games, if you just kind of move, like steer Rayman a little less than you think you should, you tend to sort of fall into the right direction. But you can easily oversteer if you're trying too hard to go in exactly the right place. Also, after a while, you kind of get used to exactly how these are going to move, because you're forced forward in this section. You may have noticed there's a current, so there's no way you're going to stick around for more than one cycle.
Yeah.
Which means knowing exactly how they're going to move for the one cycle you're there is very helpful. You know, it's like
Yeah.
Groundhog Day. Anyway, didn't move fast enough there and got chomped by.
But at least
But I think I'll have a better shot this time.
At least you hit a checkpoint there.
Yeah, lucky me. I would have hated to go through that again.
Oh, God.
So here, you need to make sure you hit all these jet streams, because they'll push you out of his way. And then you just flush him down.
Oh, God.
Wouldn't it be nice if all boss fights were so easy?
That reminds me unpleasantly of Conker's Fur Day, but...
Yeah. Not quite as disgusting. For instance, it involves less sweet corn.
Oh, God. Ew.
But enough of that.
Anyway.
So yeah, that sea serpent is now entirely dead, and we'll never have to deal with him again. And I guess that means the world's over, right? I mean, we didn't have a proper boss fight, it was just a chase, but, you know.
True.
The world should still be over. But of course it's not. Now we have a madman's creation. You want to guess what exactly has been created? By the way, I cannot get over thinking that guy is saying meatball when he gives us the power. It's like he goes, meatball!
Oh, God.
I know he's just saying gibberish, but still. You know, it's kind of like Gestalt. We can't believe it is just gibberish. We always have to assign meaning to it. Oh, by the way, we are walking on the boss right now. And then we just turned him on. Because we're dumb.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. I mean, he's a robot. Please don't read too much into that.
Yeah, let's not explore that aspect of AI, please.
Oh, boy. Anyway, yeah, so now we have a robotic sea serpent. So, the regular sea serpent is in fact dead. We're not going to deal with him again, but now we have to deal with his little robot brother.
Of course we do.
He's got kind of weird, like, fly eyes. I'm curious.
Yeah.
So, oof, really got beaten up by that laser. So he'll give you a big wind-up with that yellow light to tell you exactly where he's going to shoot the laser. And you have to use these platforms to make sure you stay out of it for as long as possible. And there he goes. Now, once he's run out of power at the laser, you can shoot at that gem, which looks a lot like a ring pop. Didn't notice that until just now, but that's what it most reminds me of.
Yeah.
To be fair, I guess ring pops are just supposed to look like gems anyway.
That they are, yes. But it does
But what can I say? I was a 90s kid.
It does look kind of like an artificial gem, specifically.
Yes, it does. Yeah, that is definitely not a real ruby. It's kind of weird, the idea of having to channel electricity through like a crystal in order to give it more power.
Ooh.
I've run into that in science fiction, and I think that's what they're going for, but... Anyway, here's an interesting little wrinkle. So this wall will protect you from the laser, but you need to make sure to get over the other side of it in time to hit.
Oh.
Yeah, and don't get snapped by him.
Ouch.
So yeah, if you do not manage to get him on that first run through, which I highly recommend, this phase will get harder.
Oh.
So basically it encourages being quick here. You don't just get another shot at him under the same circumstances. The things move around and it makes the whole thing harder. Now, if you make it through the second part of this phase, he will be sort of on his downtime for longer. So I think that's part of what they were going for, is that, you know, if you're willing to be patient, even though the second part is a little more challenging to get through, you do have more time to hit him. I don't think you ever get another shot at the first phase of that. It'll just keep going back and forth through the second. But either way, you should eventually be able to get it. And that chest is also very easy to get. So we're on our way to the last checkpoint, last phase of the battle. And this is reminding me even more of Rapture right now. Specifically the part where the door breaks open and you have fish flopping all over the place.
Oh.
And now we have the hardest phase of this fight, as you can imagine. Here we do not even have a platform to stand on. There is a platform, but you don't use it to stand on. Instead, you have to stay right underneath it. And I do mean right underneath it. It's a very small platform, and the laser actually has a hitbox that's somewhat wide. And of course, if you fall to your death, there's nothing that can save you from that either, so, you know, don't be dumb like me. This phase, I would say mostly the important thing is don't panic.
Ooh.
And also remember that after he fires, he's probably going to move, so don't try to hit him from underneath. It's a fool's errand. So yeah, here we go. And now they're going to start to move independently.
Oh dear.
This is the point when you could easily miss hitting one of these and just fall because of that.
Yeah.
But now's our chance, don't miss it. There we go.
At least they do it in a rhythm, though.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And we really torched him good. Like, all his skin burned off. His metallic skin scales. And now we're walking on him again, but this time he is not going to get back up. And it's time to deal with the guy who caused all this.
Oh, God.
He's really stuck. Quite a sticky wicket. Let's help him out. And move very leisurely to give him plenty of time to consider his predicament. I always love just the idea.
That.
Oh, sorry, what?
They always do that. It is so silly.
I know. I just love the idea that, like, they're so freaked out, but there's nothing they can do. Alright, come on. Put him out of his misery, Rayman. There we go. Past the clothesline galaxy. Right up the pig's tail. And we're going to add another layer to this beautiful symphony we've got going. So yeah, they don't use a pitchfork, they just tug on his legs. Is it weird that I actually really like this song? Anyway, that's the boss of this world dealt with. But as usual, we are fairly far from the end because we have the musical level to go through. And this one's pretty tough, actually. Just having Rayman limber up a little bit. And here we go. Glue Glue. Which is named, of course, after the sounds they make.
Of course.
I think it's supposed to be Lums singing when you're underwater. But I'm not sure. Could be anything, really. Could be fish.
True.
So let's get started. So, viewers may recognize this song. Do you recognize it, Greg?
I'm trying to.
So this is the song Woo-Hoo. You might remember it from every car commercial you heard when you were 12.
Oh god, that one.
Yep. I actually really don't like this song, but, you know, it's not so bad when it's being sung by Lums.
True.
Still, probably one of the weaker songs they have in the whole thing. I mean, when you're competing with the likes of, you know, Eye of the Tiger, and that kind of thing, a song that people mostly remember from advertisements just isn't going to cut it.
Uh-huh.
And I did deliberately die there because I missed the teensy cage. Please don't think that my sense of rhythm is off. Okay, there's no excuse for that. My illusions are shattered so quickly, it's a shame. Yeah, it is really hard to get that teensy cage. You basically have to be attacking right when you enter the water.
Uh-huh.
And you don't have time to make the decision, so you have to just remember it. It has to be muscle memory. You
Pretty
can't
much
just
all
fall
of
into... What?
Yeah. I was going to say, it has to be pretty much straight out of memory.
You can't just fall into the water either, because that big, you know, sea creature comes out.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I am sorry to subject all of you to this one part of the song over and over again.
That is kind of the problem with these rhythm game levels in general.
It is. Because if there's one thing that's worse... Oh, I do actually kind of like this part with the whistling. But if there's one thing worse than being subjected to a song you really hate that gets stuck in your head, it's being subjected to just a few notes from the song you hate.
Yep.
So you'll remember like a 5-second clip of it over and over again without even remembering how the rest of the song goes.
Oh, God.
It happens. In fact, I think you're more likely to get a little clip of a song stuck in your head than you are to get the rest of the song stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know the whole song, it's probably not a song you find annoying.
True.
More whistling. I'm pretty sure this is not the last time we're going to hear that whistling either. You may have already noticed the problem, which is that in jumping up to get the teensy cage, I'm hitting one of those chains at the wrong moment.
Uh-huh.
Which causes me to be thrown off my rhythm, and it means that I miss the next chain in the link.
Ah.
Sorry, next chain in the chain is what I should have said. Next chain in the link. It's completely backwards. Anyway, this section's a little easier.
Well, it is a chain of chains, so...
Yeah. Worst Aretha Franklin song ever. So now we have harmonization on the woo-woos. Yeah, this song really does get complicated, doesn't it? There's all kinds of arpeggios and stuff in it. It certainly isn't like an incredibly plain song that's annoying. I've never understood how people can compose songs like this, you know? They're so brain dead.
How does it not
this
drive
song,
them nuts to make it?
Yeah, it literally has no lyrics. And, like, the same chorus played, like, 30,000 times in a row. It's strange.
Maybe that makes it easier?
Well, it does, obviously.
I guess, yeah.
Anywho. So, we made it out of there. Without
Right.
too many brain cells killed. And next time we're going to move on to the finest level. Sorry, final level. I got
also
mixed
the
up.
finest.
Olympus Maximus. So we'll see you then, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.